2. Hey everyone, I'm Wa.
And I'm Chris, and welcome to Docu Sweeties.
We're two longtime friends who discuss the riveting and sometimes trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
Yes, but through our own lens, which can be a beautiful dream come true or a beautiful nightmare, just like that Beyonce song. Anyway, but this one isn't it. This is an American Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Yes.
Part 2, honey, Gone Girl.
Yeah. So we are talking about this Netflix docuseries called American Nightmare. Called that for some odd reason. Is it not really
Well,
not really from what I watched, Chris?
it's a nightmare. I don't understand. They want to make it seem like it's an American nightmare, I think, because of the fact that it could happen in America where American media coverage would just take a victim and, make this person seem like a perpetrator. However, what I want to say is it's confusing because American nightmare seems like the opposite of American dream. And American dream is a whole idea, whether it's real or not, of the brags to riches story that can happen only in America by you picking up by your bootstraps and making work happen, blah, 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 blah. And so the American nightmare to me would be some sort of version of that that's spun on its head in a different way. And this is not that at all. This is a horrible story about a woman who's repeatedly sexually assaulted throughout the entirety of her life and made to feel like she's a crazy person that is like attacking people just to tell them. So it really is a nightmare, and not American so much as it is just like female, or it has a different kind of nightmare quality to me. Now, what do you mean?
I was just gonna say trigger warning because it has SA in
Oh,
it and all that stuff. But what I mean is just that I don't. It is very a grandiose statement. It's just a grandiose statement. To me, if we were telling it from if we were telling it from the perspective, I guess, of the kidnappers, and they had from coast to coast committed these egregious kidnappings and rapes from from one coast to the next and from one border up to the Gulf. Like I guess I could see it being that, but like it just happened really in one sliver of the country, and I just don't understand the title. It just feels sensationalized. And anyways, let's just talk about this episode. So in this episode, it's really from um Denise's perspective.
yes.
She's free. So that's a good thing to happen.
Yeah,
And
were you at first shocked? Like your first moment, okay, so obviously episode 1 happens, it's all fucking Aaron Quinn and quitting it up. Episode 2 happens, it's her. You're like, "Huh?" And you're a little shocked. And then because you don't really know what's happening. And then she's like, "I remember getting woken up." And she, of course, goes throughout the entirety of this tale, which we've heard versions of, but she's like, going to now have visceral moments of being in the car and sharing that. But of course, my first moment is this old footage? Is this new footage? Like, I didn't know for sure. Like, it's jarring to see her. She is very soft spoken, and she goes through the whole thing. It's a long opening of episode 2. Oh, can I have one more question to you? Have you ever seen the movie Gone Girl?
maybe when it came out, yes.
Okay, just wondering.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
did. I did. Yes.
I don't remember it
Why do I feel like I don't remember it either?
because it's been many movies since then, and there was a pandemic, so
Many moons and many movies.
mhm,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, it's
Anyway,
just been a
so yeah,
while
that's
ago.
how it starts. Yeah, we're like, "Oh shit. Okay, here she is, honey." And it's just she goes step by step through it.
Yeah.
It's hard it's hard. It's a hard watch, the opening of episode 2.
Yeah, so she gives us a play-by-play of what happened. She's like, these 2 people, and they put me in the trunk, and
Mhm.
they
Mhm. Mhm.
sedatives, and at first she does what I would do, is,
Hmm.
okay, they're backing out, they're taking a left, okay, they get to this first stop sign, they're going straight, they're making a left, okay, we're on the freeway. Okay, that first freeway, it's obviously the 10 east. Okay, yep, that bump in the road. Right. They got all the way over to the left. Okay, another freeway. And then at some point, she's like, I can't do it anymore. And the sedative is kicking in, right? So she recognizes they're on the freeway, and she recognizes also they're in a loud vehicle. She's thinking it's a Mustang, and I'm like, good girl, like I love it. Then she's like falls asleep, wakes up, she gets out, and she's like, Pine. She's like, why am
Yes.
I in a place where obviously no one's around? The fact that I'm tied up. I must be in some remote area. I smell pine, so I'm in like the forest somewhere. Must be in the cabins.
There's
Okay.
chirping, you know, there's
Yes.
probably every beautiful fucking, you know, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. So she's,
Buckland Brook.
getting all of that in her head. And so she probably has narrowed herself down to, certain places, but she doesn't know how long she's been asleep. So she then gets taken into the space and she's like, okay, this part is tiled, this part is carpeted, and she gets put into a room. And I think this person says something to her. Only one person is like she has any kind of uh, engagement with. It's only one person. And she's told not to scream. And so she pays attention to everything that's happening and she follows them because she doesn't know what's going on. She's told that one, this wasn't meant for her. This was meant for Andrea. And so she's like, what the hell? What the fuck?
First of all, I feel so bad for her for every reason possible, Denise, but there's a couple of female reasons we're going to get to. Denise, at this point, has been fucking in the shadow of Andrea this entire time. She like works with Andrea. Obviously, Aaron used to be with Andrea. Aaron works with them. Aaron is now with her. And Aaron, this entire time, has been low key wanting to get back with Andrea. So, like, I cannot imagine when she hears this, like, holy shit, this is happening because of fucking. I feel like no one hates Andrea more in this world than Denise. And I get it. I mean, what the. Anyway, and also we don't get enough Andrea in this entire docuseries, which we'll talk about later. But just, I cannot believe I would have. I don't. If I was Denise, I would low key kill Andrea. I think that at this point I would kill her because I think I'd be like, I have to. It's either me or her in this world. This world has told me at this point that it's either me or her, and it's gonna be her.
It's gonna be me. So
I'm joking. This is a comedy podcast.
um so we have that moment, and then the person tells her that I work for a black market company that kidnaps people for money, and also your man Aaron, he has his instructions. And so she's like, okay, and she falls asleep again. Then she ends up waking up to the sound of French pop music, and he comes back in again. And he's like, hey, so guess I found out that we need some collateral because we're worried that you're going to go to the police. So, unfortunately, what we have to do is have sex on camera to ensure that you will not go to the police. And when you do, if you do go to the police, we'll put it all over social media. And I was like, I would have been like, oh no, boo, just so that you know, whether or not you film it or not, I'm still going to police.
Yeah,
Like,
this is a whole hole in the story. Like, at no point would the police be like, "Oh, no, I can see that you like." Well, I guess they don't believe her anyway. But I mean, like, I'd be like,
no, she doesn't know this at this point, but this is just between
yeah,
me and the kidnapper. So if somebody
yeah,
were
yeah,
to
yeah.
ever say, "Hey, Wahima, I'm gonna have sex with you," um, just so that you know that if this ever gets out, it's gonna go on the internet so that you won't behave poor. I'm like, oh, just put it on the internet. So go
Literally,
ahead.
it made a star of Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian.
That and the
Like,
fact that like you go on ahead and put it on the internet, bro.
well,
Especially if I'm not into it. Oh, put that on the internet. Go ahead. She laid there like a wet fish.
the,
And you think that that's gonna stop me from going to the police? You're weird.
well, to say the least. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, you're absolutely right. And yeah. So anyway, spoiler alert, because she lays her like a wet noodle, he's like, you know what? well, this is what happens. Basically, then she hears a bunch. He's like, a bunch of people are coming over, and just so you know, the people are coming over. They're not nice. Not like me, the one that rapes you and listens to French fucking music. Anyway, God bless. And at one point, she's like, you know what, low key, I would have liked him if he wasn't, I don't know, a rapist, which is like low key, will come back later into life. But anyway, so then she hears a bunch of fucking voices come over, and they're like arguing and yelling, not yellowing. I don't know what yellowing is, but yelling is the word. And so then they leave, and then he comes out, and he's like, bad news, they don't like the video. Like, we have to do it again, and this time you gotta, like, act like you're into it. And so she starts to drink, and so he puts it with wine that's in front of her, and then he had stepped out of the room, and he comes back in, and he's like, "Hey, started the party without me?" Like if they were on a date.
Hmm.
And then, they have to bone, and he tapes it.
Yeah, he does it again. And she's pissed because she's like, "How dare you just like? Why do you have wine and booze in here? Are we like? You think that you're
Yeah.
rewarding me somehow?" Like he after the first time,
Oh,
he takes her to the bathroom and he allows her to
yeah.
take off the goggles. And he's like, "Listen, you can take the goggles off while I'm not here." And she's thinking, "Are you trying to reward me?" Like she's smart. She is a physical therapist. She's had many years of school. She's not new to this. She's true to this. She understands that this man is trying to like give her a crumb. So she's taking the crumbs with the understanding that he wants to kind of pull her in, give her little things to reward her because she's being a good girl and all of this
Yes.
stuff. And so
Yeah,
she's fully aware of these things.
taking those crumbs with a huge grain of salt. And I like
Yes.
salty crumbs.
Yes. And so she sees this alcohol and she's like, "You may have won this battle and I'm going to chug this and whatever." And so he still tapes her eyes with like clear tape so she can't see his face. She still hasn't seen his face at this point. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
she has to then pretend she's like, "Oh, I this time I can't have an out of body experience when he has sex with me. I have to participate, for this to be good," because at this point, Aaron has already gone to the police. So he's lost contact with Aaron at this point.
Yeah.
And he's told her this. So she's worried now because no one is going to pay the ransom. And Aaron doesn't have the money for the ransom is another thing. I'm like, is there no, you guys can't hobble together however much money? But the truth is that he's not going to give her back for money anyway. He's not doing this for money. He's doing this because at this point, we don't know that, but I'm giving away the plot.
Just think about the fact that Aaron would like this man thought that Aaron was gonna pay for Andrea. And if you're Denise, are you like, oh, and you haven't talked to Aaron and you lost contact? Would you be like, you're just fucking with Andrea? I don't
Just
even know what I would think. I would be in hell, poor Denise.
yeah,
I mean, if anyone deserved a GoFundMe, anyway, God bless. So
yeah. So
basically,
40
okay.
hours later,
Yeah.
she's now 40 hours in captivity at this time.
Yes,
He
yes,
comes
yes.
in the room, she grabs the goggles, and he's like, "Oh, lift up the goggles a little bit and look down." And he shows her video from like his phone of her
Hmm.
father on the news crying for her safe return.
Horrible.
She starts to cry. He pats her
Yeah.
back. He's like, "Oh, it's real now, right?" And she's just like, in her head, "Fuck you." And he like tries to like console her and shit and make it seem like, "I'm here for you, boo." Then he takes her
He
home finally,
like
and
a
he's like,
girlfriend experience with her, like
"Yeah,
he wants with a hostage, he's trying to have a girlfriend experience. It's so crazy. Especially for someone who, in all honesty, like is well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Anyway, so this person is whatever, so you're just like this goes on. He basically obviously knows that because her parents are on there that she's from Orange County. She's in Huntington Beach, or basically. So then he decides that he is going to allow her to go, and he's going to not be able to do it in San Francisco or wherever the area because there's too many police around. He's going to drive her down to Huntington Beach. And
mhm,
so that's what he fucking does. And she, you know, literally is told two things. Just so you know, never tell anyone that I was in the military. Because, he had said a bunch of fucking shit. He had told her that he was in the military for no reason. He had told her that he suffered from PTSD, which Like, and I say that again to go kind of into the girlfriend experience of this. He kept having like somewhat intimate moments with this person as if they were getting to know each other in a relationship, like, which is so crazy and fucked up psychologically. So the first one again, uh, don't tell anyone in the military. B, two, don't tell anyone about the rapes. Just keep that on the DL. Because if you do, I'll just come back and kill you, all your whole family, everyone. Anyway, bye, like kicks her out, and she like is allowed to take out her off her, things, and she realizes she's on the street that she used to like live on, like her parents' street, and her dad isn't home. Can you imagine for this, like knocking on the door and they're not home, and then the neighbor finds her. At this
Yeah.
point, I don't quite know if the neighbor knows it's her, like, like knows that it's been happening. Like, is it like, oh my God, Denise, you're on the national fucking news, what are you doing? Like, I mean, that's confusing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that the neighbors do know who she is, because her dad was on the news crying, right? So it's
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
on some like local news, of like Connie Chung. It was like on Channel 9 News talking about it, right? Is
Yeah, yeah,
Connie
thank you,
Chung
Beth.
still in the news?
I don't
Um,
that well, no, but I
mhm.
loved it.
Yeah. So everybody knows it, right? And so she gets there. It's a media shitstorm. Somebody calls the police, media or whatever. She goes to the police
Yes,
and
yes.
she doesn't tell them about the rape because she's told, not to. She's worried about her family and everything. And then the police in Huntington Beach is like, hey, the dudes on the phone from Vallejo, the police up there, they want to talk to you. And so the police up there offer her a proffer agreement, and she's like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's like an agreement to basically give you a plea deal." And she's not understanding what's going on because she just got out of many hours of captivity. She doesn't realize what kind of media storm she's been under. She has just called the police. She is just basically didn't tell them the whole story, and the police up where she lives is offering her some kind of plea agreement because they have already decided that it's a hoax, unbeknownst to her. And so when she realizes that, she knows something is up. So she immediately calls a San Francisco lawyer. And so that San Francisco lawyer hears that and goes, okay, first of all, get up here ASAP. And also don't talk to the police anymore because if you say anything contradictory, they will use that against you. They're not your friends. So she then gets up there. By the time she gets up there, the lawyer is like, listen, the police have thrown you under the bus. They have said that you have, I mean, they got on the record in front of press and they've said that you've wasted valuable time, that you've been lying this whole time about being kidnapped. And so you need to tell me the story. So she tells her lawyer 4 different times the story. Lawyer believes her, but is like, you need to have a SART exam, meaning the sexual assault kit that they do with the police. So he calls the police in Vallejo. He's like, hey, my client is here. She needs to have the exam. And they're like, whoa, whoa, we're not giving her shit until she comes and talks to us. And so the lawyer's like, okay. And Denise is like, I guess I'll do it. And so then they go and tell the police everything, but they're still treating her like the criminal. And it's a good thing that she has the lawyer there because the lawyer starts to realize what they're doing. And the lawyer's like, my clients are then she needs that test. And so then they go to get the test and they're like, well, yeah, she has had sex. Hmm. Right. But I don't think there's any evidence because he probably used a condom. And, they obviously believe when women have had sex, like, unless it's like dramatic and lots of tearing and all that stuff, how some men still believe in this world that if a woman was sexually assaulted, her body rejects the sperm, all that nonsense. And so I want to know though, why is it that they've decided that this is a hoax? That's not clear to me.
Yeah, it feels like this story, they feel like, is so fantastical with so many details. And then they decide, I think, because of Andrea and that mess, and the fact that then, unfortunately, because Denise herself had been a prior sexual assault victim, it's like They were like,
Mm.
well, one and done, honey. 3 strikes, you're out. It was like this. They have a perfect word for it, like biasness. They call it something a biasness, and
Oh.
psychological idea that certain people can't get past a truth that they have, like put in their mind. And specifically, if they are in charge of finding out the truth and they have work to do, it can be really harmful. But like
So
that, right?
weird. So yeah, I just feels like such a weird. I mean, I don't do like really big investigations, but I do investigations all the time at work. And like, I just would never be like, well, no, nah, I mean, even if I did, I still would move through the process as you're supposed to and wouldn't just decide that I'm going to just, whatever. And it's also like the media. It's one thing for social media and like the shade room and like stupid publications to go on alleged and could this be a hoax? But it's a whole other thing for like MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, and certain media outlets to just the police are saying it's a hoax. Like, why don't you just wait until it is a hoax? And before you say that and get sway public opinion because
Oh,
once you start doing that, then people start getting death threats for no reason.
well, we're already in the clickbaity kind of sensationalized news that gets things,
I just
the
hate it.
most important.
I wish they had some kind of laws that stopped the press from doing that because it's just a different time now. You can't do that without hurting people and
You're
having
right.
folks. It's dangerous at this point. Like it's
Yeah, they
dangerous
don't
to do
care.
things like that. And I think that there needs to be some responsibility on the press for not putting out things that they don't have evidence of until they're ready. Anyways, so we have her. She they are talking shit about her, saying that it's a hoax. Meanwhile, she's had the last 48 hours from hell. So is her partner. And then we have the reporter who works these kinds of crimes. He all of a sudden starts getting a bunch of emails from an unknown sender saying she's telling the truth. Me and
Fucking
my
crazy.
cohorts are upset that you guys think that she's lying, which is like such a crazy thing to do because truly, if it really was this black market group doing this, they would never go to bat for her ever.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that only makes our life easier if they don't believe
Yeah.
her. And
Yes.
so email after email this reporter is getting, and the reporter is sending it to the police because he has a relationship with them. So he sends it to the police. It goes into a black hole. The police do not care. I guess they all think it's a part of the hoax too, that maybe she's sending it. And then they get pictures of the weapon. And again, the police does nothing about it. And finally, they're like, if you don't believe us, we will do this again. And they do. So the very end of episode 2 is a call from the police of a mother is like, oh, my husband is outside. He is fighting
Yes.
them. They have taken
Yes.
our daughter. And it ends
You're
in
like,
some
"Oh
place
my
called
god."
Dublin, California.
Yeah, and it's not Ireland. It's not Ireland. Yes, it's not Ireland.
It's also not an island either.
It's not, well, Ireland is an island.
Yeah,
The
but I thought you were
Ireland
gonna say
Island.
island.
The Isle of Ireland. The Isle of
Okay.
Ireland. Yarry, yarry, har,
Okay,
har.
let's stop that
Uh,
immediately. So we're done with this episode.
no, we're not. I wanna keep going. No, I really like this episode. I lied. No, I really didn't like this episode. Episode 3 is so much better. This episode is like really hard to watch and horrible and like almost like it's tedious in how horrible it is to sit through. It feels like, I mean, it's a hard watch, and I feel really bad for her the whole time. But you're just like, well, I guess I'm doing a podcast about it, so I have to keep watching. Is how you think, you know?
Oh.
Anyway, just me. But then episode 3 happens, and my dad started watching episode 2, and he was like, "Absolutely not." Then episode 3 happens, and he can jump back in. So, at the same time, yeah, when this phone call happens, you hear this poor woman's voice, and I have a Korean landlord, and she sounded just like my landlord, and it made me really, really scared. I didn't like it at all, but and they basically are like, yes, my husband's outside, and I'm not quite sure if they mentioned the daughter at this one, but there's gonna be a daughter involved in this. And you're just like, oh my God. And the person that can get that call, could you imagine having to get that call and also, as Wahama said, it's crazy to think that someone would be like, no, I did the bad thing. So anyway, all right, my
Yeah.
loves, let's go on to episode 3, part
All right,
3.
guys. If you would like to see the visuals of what you're listening to right now, you can join us on patreon.com/DocuSweeties for $10 a month. You get exclusive content like a live every first Monday of the month, which is next Monday.
Coming up. Yes.
And if you can't do that, but you'd like to support us, Chris will tell you all the free ways you can. Chris?
Please go to our social media. And if you want to follow and like everything, we would be so happy. First, let's talk about Instagram. We're at DocuSweeties on Instagram, at DocuSweeties on TikTok. We are at DocuSweeties1 on X, and we have a Facebook group, the DocuSweeties Podcast Facebook group. And, we love you guys so much. We really appreciate that. And at the same time, if you haven't yet given us 5 stars, I would consider it. I would do it. If I were you,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
If you don't mind. All right.
Okay,
We'll talk
great.
to you later. Bye.
Bye.